The galaxy had known fear for a long time. Wherever the Zaltharon Dominion went, resistance collapsed. They were not the oldest civilization, nor the most creative, but they were the most ruthless. Their fleets moved like storms, and every storm ended the same way. Another world bent its knee to the Dominion. For 164 campaigns, the Zaltharon Navy had won. Not one battle had been lost. They were proud of this number. They carved it into their war banners, sang it in their victory hymns, and reminded every new race of it before the fighting even began. 164 victories. None against us. None ever will be. When the High Council of the Dominion gathered in the shining spires of their capital world, there was little debate about their next target. Advisors suggested rich mining colonies in the Orion Arm, or strategic trade stations near the Sagittarius Gate. But the admirals had another idea. They wanted a prize that would be remembered forever. The choice was Earth. At first, some counselors laughed. Earth was a minor, almost forgotten world. It sat in a quiet arm of the Milky Way, small and unimportant. Its people, the humans, had never taken part in galactic politics. In fact, they had been invited centuries ago to join the Council of Civilizations. The humans had given only 2 words in response: not interested. That answer had irritated many species at the time. Who were the humans to refuse the council? But as years passed, the galaxy forgot about them. Civilizations rose and fell, wars began and ended, empires grew and broke apart. Humanity, meanwhile, remained hidden on their single blue planet, quiet and still. To the Dominion, this made Earth the perfect target. "Let it be our 165th conquest," said High Admiral Corval during the War Council. His voice was full of arrogance. "And let all remember that no world escapes our reach. Even those who hide in silence will kneel." The decision was made. A great fleet was assembled, one of the largest the Dominion had ever launched. Thousands of ships, carriers, and dreadnoughts gathered like a dark storm in the void. Their hulls shimmered with the burn marks of past victories, each scar a reminder of unstoppable power. The soldiers celebrated. To them, Earth would be easy. Some mocked the humans, imagining them still fighting with swords and bows. Others joked that the humans would surrender the moment they saw a single Dominion ship. None believed resistance was possible. Yet, among the lower ranks, quiet doubts grew. Ensign Tovar, a young officer, asked his captain why humans had never been conquered before. "If they are weak, as we say, why did no other empire take them?" The captain dismissed him. "Because humans are cowards. They hide and let greater civilizations rule the galaxy. That is all." But Tovar felt uneasy. In the military archives, he had read small notes from centuries past. Alien scouts who visited Earth reported something unusual. The humans were not technologically advanced, but they had a strange way of looking at the stars, as if they were waiting. Waiting for what? No one ever knew. The reports ended, forgotten in dusty files. Still, none of this mattered to the High Admirals. The Dominion had won 164 times. To them, numbers were proof enough. The 165th would come as easily as the rest. The fleet left the Dominion homeworld in a grand parade. Crowds filled the skies with cheers and light. Children waved banners marked with the sacred number, and priests blessed the ships with songs of victory. Admiral Corval stood at the bridge of his flagship, confident and proud. His words echoed across the fleet, "Remember who we are. We are the storm. We are the hammer of the stars. When others see our fleet, they see the end of hope. Earth will not be remembered for what it was, but for what it lost." The Armada roared approval. Engines flared, and the fleet tore across the stars toward the Sol system. As they traveled, some officers studied human records more closely. The Dominion had access to fragments of intercepted transmissions, signals humans had once sent into the galaxy, strange music, pictures, and voices. Unlike other species who broadcast only warnings or requests, humans had sent laughter, stories, and songs. "They waste their signals on nonsense," one admiral said with contempt. But others wondered, what kind of people sent songs into the void instead of defenses. What kind of species laughed while surrounded by so many predators? Still, arrogance drowned doubt. The Dominion saw only weakness. Weeks later, the fleet arrived near the edge of the solar system. Their first scouts reported back with ease. Earth's defenses were primitive compared to Dominion standards. There were satellites in orbit, but none weaponized. Old rockets rested in silos powered by outdated fuels. A few space stations circled the planet, fragile and small. No planetary shield, a commander sneered. No orbital cannons, no fleets, only toys. The admirals laughed. To them, this was not a war. This was a show, a performance meant to frighten the galaxy with how easily even the most stubborn world could fall. Admiral Corval broadcast his declaration of conquest. His voice, deep and cold, was transmitted across every frequency humans used. "People of Earth," he began, "we are the Dominion. We have won 164 wars. You will be the 165th. Kneel, and you may live. Resist, and you will be erased." The Dominion fleet waited. Usually, conquered worlds would beg for mercy at this point, offering resources or alliances. Others would send desperate armies into hopeless battle. Either way, it was entertaining. But this time, nothing happened. Earth was silent. No transmission answered Corval's threat. No armies gathered. The humans gave no sign that they had even heard him. The admirals laughed again. "They are too afraid to answer," one said. "They hide like insects in their nest." Corval agreed. "Then we will burn their nest. And when their ashes drift in space, the galaxy will know that none can refuse the Dominion." The fleet, advanced engines glowing like stars. Thousands of ships moved into formation, ready to encircle the planet. From orbit, Earth looked calm and blue, its oceans shining under the sun. It was a beautiful world, untouched by war. Some soldiers, watching from their windows, felt a strange sense of hesitation. The planet looked so alive, so peaceful. It was not like the broken worlds the Dominion usually conquered. It was different. But orders were orders, and the Dominion had never lost. As the first ships entered Earth's orbit, something unexpected happened. Their sensors began to flicker. Signals jammed. Navigation systems gave false readings. Ships reported seeing Earth in multiple places at once. Some thought it was a glitch. Others whispered of tricks. Corval dismissed the warnings. "Faulty. Equipment, nothing more. Prepare the bombardment." The fleet armed its weapons. Cannons glowed. Missiles-armed dreadnoughts opened their bays. Soon fire would rain upon Earth and another world would kneel. The soldiers expected to hear the familiar orders, the countdown, the thunder of weapons. But instead, silence filled the comms. Systems froze. Weapons refused to fire. Engines dimmed. And for the first time in centuries, the invincible armada felt something new. Fear. The humans had not answered the Dominion's threat, but the planet itself seemed to answer in its own way. The silence from Earth was heavier than any weapon. When the Dominion fleet entered orbit, the admirals expected a reaction. They expected screams of fear, desperate negotiations, or at least a foolish attempt at resistance. Instead, Earth said nothing. The planet remained calm, blue and green under the sunlight, as if it had not even noticed the armada above it. Admiral Corval did not like silence. To him, silence was weakness, but also insult. "Transmit again," he ordered. His voice was sharp. "Send it on every frequency, every language. Let them hear our warning." The order was carried out. Once more, the Dominion voice filled Earth's skies. "Surrender or be destroyed." But again, no answer. The admirals laughed, though their laughter carried unease. "Perhaps their leaders are too afraid to speak," said Admiral Vanar. "They will kneel when fire falls upon them." Yet in the lower ranks, whispers spread. Ensign Tovar felt the unease grow like a knot in his stomach. He remembered the old reports in the archives. Strange human behavior. Signals filled with, "Songs and jokes, never fear." If the humans were truly terrified, would they stay this quiet? Cracks in the confidence. The Dominion fleet began its approach. Thousands of ships formed their standard battle net, designed to trap entire worlds. Carriers prepared drone swarms. Dreadnoughts charged their colossal cannons, and cruisers spread wide to cover every escape path. From orbit, the soldiers looked down on Earth. Some were impressed despite themselves. The oceans gleamed like liquid jewels, the continents rich and green. The night side glittered with lights, proof of billions of lives below. It was unlike the broken colonies the Dominion had conquered before. Such a waste, muttered Captain Rellan on one of the cruisers. To burn such beauty. His second officer disagreed. It is not beauty. It is weakness. They cling to their home like children, too afraid to spread into the stars. They deserve to be erased. But even as he said it, he could not fully believe. Something about Earth did not match weakness. It felt like a world watching, a world waiting. First signs of resistance as the fleet moved closer. The first strange incidents began. A battleship near the outer orbit suddenly lost all navigation. Its maps twisted, showing Earth duplicated in 3 different places at once. The captain reported that the stars themselves looked wrong, as if the universe had shifted. Corval dismissed it as error. Replace the computers, continue. Moments later, a carrier's drone bay froze. Thousands of machines refused to launch. Engineers tore through the systems, but every attempt failed. It was as if the machines were locked by an unseen hand. Other ships reported similar problems. Communications jamming, strange energy interference, radar screens showing ghosts. Admiral Vaynar frowned. This is not normal electronic war. I have seen jamming, I have seen hacking, this is something else. Corval's pride refused to accept doubt. You are imagining tricks. These are primitive people. They have no such technology. Continue the operation. Watching from below on the surface of Earth, humanity remained quiet. Governments received the Dominion broadcast, but no leader sent a reply. Militaries tracked the armada, but no missiles launched. Ordinary people looked up at the night sky. They saw the new stars, the bright engines of alien ships circling above. Many were afraid, but they trusted something greater, something they did not speak aloud. In underground facilities and hidden labs, scientists monitored the Dominion fleet calmly. For generations, humanity had prepared, not with warships or cannons, but with knowledge. While the galaxy fought endless wars of power, humans had walked another road, studying deeper truths of space and time. To the Dominion, Earth looked defenseless. To humans, the Dominion looked like children waving sticks at a storm. The Admiral's frustration, back in orbit, frustration grew. Admiral Corval slammed his fist against the command table. Why do they not answer? Every world begs. Every world screams. But they remain silent. Vaynar spoke carefully. Perhaps silence is their answer. Perhaps they mean to resist without words. Then they will be erased without words, Corval snapped. Orders went out. The fleet was to prepare, full bombardment. Dreadnoughts aligned their massive cannons toward Earth. Carriers prepared to unleash drone swarms. Missile bays opened like the jaws of a predator. The soldiers waited for the countdown, eager to see fire rain upon the quiet world. But before the order was given, more strange events struck. The disappearing ships, a destroyer on the left flank, sent a final message. Systems failing. Space. Bending. Then nothing. The ship was gone. Not destroyed. Not exploding. Simply gone. No wreckage, no signal, no trace. Moments later, a frigate on the right flank vanished the same way. Its crew screamed once, then silence. The admirals stared in disbelief. Never in all 164 victories had they seen such a thing. Vaynar's face grew pale. This is not technology we know. This is something else. Corval refused to believe. Coincidence, malfunction, sabotage, it cannot be the humans. But the soldiers knew better. Fear spread like fire through the fleet. The human silence. Still, Earth remained silent. No signal came from the planet. No weapons fired from the ground. It was as if the humans were not defending themselves at all. And yet, ships continued to vanish. Systems continued to fail. The fleet felt trapped in an invisible web, struggling against something they could not see. Some soldiers whispered legends they had heard in old archives, that humans were strange, unpredictable, that they thought differently from other species, that they had secrets. Others dismissed the stories, but fear was stronger than denial. The lower ranks doubt ensign Tovar, aboard a cruiser, could not hide his fear. He whispered to his friend, "Do you not feel it? The planet is watching us, not the humans, the planet itself. It does not want us here." His friend tried to laugh, but his voice shook. "You are letting old stories scare you." But when another battleship disappeared without a sound, both fell silent. The Admiral's last push Corval refused to surrender his pride. He ordered all ships to fire whether systems worked or not. Overwhelm them. If their tricks disrupt one ship, then fire 10. If 10 vanish, then fire 100. They cannot erase us all. The fleet obeyed. Cannons charged. Missiles armed. Drones attempted to launch, but nothing worked. Weapons froze at the moment of firing. Missiles refused to ignite. Drone bays sealed shut. It was as if Earth itself reached into every ship and whispered, "Not today." A strange calm in the middle of chaos. Some soldiers noticed something strange. Through their viewports, Earth looked beautiful, calm, untouched by fear. The oceans glittered. The continents stretched wide. The clouds drifted peacefully. It was a planet that had no reason to be afraid. A planet that was not weak. Admiral Vaynar whispered the thought that many feared to say aloud. What if they do not fight us because they do not need to? Corval's eyes burned with rage. Enough of this fear. We are the Dominion. We do not lose. But deep inside, even Corval felt the first cold taste of doubt. The final silence as the admirals argued, more ships vanished. Entire squadrons blinked, out, erased from existence. The fleet, once a storm, now felt like prey. Panic spread. Soldiers shouted, engineers wept, captains begged for retreat. But the jump drives would not work. The fleet could not escape. And still, Earth said nothing. No words, no weapons, only silence. It was not the silence of weakness. It was the silence of certainty. The Dominion had won 164 victories, but this time, they had not found a battlefield. They had found something else entirely. The Zaltharan fleet drifted in orbit above Earth, stunned. Ships that had been their pride, their power, vanished without a sound. Squadrons that had carried them through countless victories blinked out of existence, leaving nothing behind. The once mighty armada, feared across 1,000 worlds, now felt fragile, exposed and terrified. Admiral Corval's bridge was a place of chaos. Screens flickered, alarms wailed, and junior officers shouted over each other, trying to understand the impossible. "Sir, the destroyer in Sector 12. Gone. No debris. No signal." Corval slammed his hand on the command table, his voice trembling with anger. "Impossible. This cannot happen. Systems, explain yourselves." Engineers scrambled, but their instruments refused to work properly. Navigation arrays displayed Earth in multiple places at once. Energy readings fluctuated wildly. Communications were jammed. Every attempt to contact ships or satellites failed. The silence from the planet itself was deafening. No transmissions, no warnings, no panic broadcasts, just Earth, calm and blue as if observing the chaos it caused. Unease among the fleet, the soldiers and officers whispered in fear. Some attempted humor to mask their panic. "Perhaps they have no weapons," said one ensign, voice shaky. "Perhaps they just watch us die and laugh." Tovar, now a full lieutenant, stared out of his viewport. "It's not laughter," he whispered to his comrade. "It's something else, something we cannot see." Other officers tried to reassure themselves. "We are the Dominion. We cannot be defeated by a single world. They are weak. Yet, Deep in their minds, doubt crept. Every world had feared the Dominion. Every world had failed. Every world had fallen. And now, Earth did not even fight. And ships vanished anyway. The silence of the humans was unlike anything the fleet had ever faced. It was not fear. It was not weakness. It was certainty. The first attempts Corval would not accept defeat. He ordered the fleet to advance, to take positions around the planet and launch probing attacks. Carriers readied drone swarms, dreadnoughts, primed their cannons and missile batteries activated, but when the weapons fired, the fleet faced the impossible. Cannons misfired. Drones failed to launch. Missiles turned back in mid-flight or disappeared entirely. Engineers could not explain it. Weapons froze. Engines stalled. Systems refused to obey. One ship vanished mid-firing. Another disappeared while attempting to reposition. Panic grew as entire wings blinked out of existence. Admiral Vaynar whispered to Corval, voice shaking, "Sir, perhaps we underestimated them. Perhaps this is not weakness at all." Corval shook his head violently. "No, impossible. We are the Dominion. This is a trick, a fluke. We will destroy them yet." But even Corval felt the first tremor of fear. Humanity watches. On Earth, life continued mostly as normal. People went about their days unaware of the armada hanging in orbit above. Scientists and military analysts monitored the alien activity, but the humans did not panic. They had prepared for centuries. They had watched as the galaxy fought endless wars of conquest, and they had learned from it. Humans did not need weapons to defend themselves in the traditional sense. Their advantage was knowledge. Knowledge the Dominion could not comprehend. Advanced understanding of physics, manipulation of energy, and control over space itself. They did not fire weapons. They simply changed the rules of engagement. To the Dominion, this was terrifying. Their technology and experience, accumulated over centuries of war, meant nothing. Earth did not fight with ships or bombs. It fought with something far stranger. A whisper of fear lower-ranking soldiers began to whisper rumors among themselves. Stories from long ago, stories they had dismissed, came to mind. Humans were not like other species. They thought differently, acted unpredictably, and sometimes behaved in ways the galaxy could not understand. Now those whispers were no longer rumors. They were warnings. Tovar spoke quietly to his friend in the mess hall. "Do you see it? We can't touch them. We can't even harm them, and they do nothing. They are different." His friend shook his head. "You are imagining it. It's only systems failing. They are weak. Weak." But another disappearance of an entire frigate left them both silent. Panic. Among the officers, Corval paced the bridge like a caged predator. "Prepare a new strike. Fire everything. Do not hesitate." Vaynar shook his head. "Sir, we are losing ships faster than we can replace them. Something about Earth. It bends the rules. It is not normal. We cannot fight it the way we fight other worlds." Corval's pride refused to admit the truth. "We always find a way. Every world falls. Every empire dies before us. This anomaly will be no different." Yet the systems continued to fail. Ships blinked out, weapons misfired, sensors twisted readings, and engines refused to move. The silence of Earth was no longer passive. It was active. It was a presence. The soldiers who had been confident hours ago now stared at the viewports, trembling. They had never faced fear like this. Fear without visible threat, without bombs or soldiers. Unseen forces, the Dominion could not see what humans were doing. There were no weapons in orbit, no fleets on the ground. Yet the effect was undeniable. The humans seemed to manipulate space itself. Ships vanished. Energy arrays fluctuated. The rules of physics appeared to bend when the fleet moved. Some scientists aboard the fleet tried to explain it. Perhaps a new form of field technology. Perhaps a gravitational anomaly. But engineers could find no source. Every calculation failed. Every scan returned impossible results. The humans had created defenses, The Dominion could not detect or counter. The Admiral's dilemma. Corval gathered his remaining captains for an emergency meeting. We are losing ships at an unacceptable rate. This cannot be. Earth is not defending itself. Yet we suffer losses. Vaynar spoke slowly, choosing his words with care. Sir, perhaps we should consider retreat. We cannot continue this assault. We do not understand the forces at work. Corval's eyes blazed. Retreat is death. We are the Dominion. We do not lose. But even Corval knew deep inside that retreat might be the only option if more ships vanished. The Armada was shrinking rapidly, and panic was spreading faster than the humans could even intervene. Soldiers began to question. Tovar watched his fellow soldiers. Confidence had turned to terror. Officers shouted at crews who refused to obey orders. Some engineers cried openly. Junior pilots refused to leave docking bays. The Armada was not defeated by weapons. It was defeated by fear. Fear that came from a silent planet. It's like the world itself is alive, one pilot whispered over comms. Like it's watching us, judging us, and it doesn't even need to fire a shot. Tovar nodded silently. He knew the feeling. They were being tested, not attacked. The humans were not weak. They were waiting for the right moment, watching the arrogance of the invaders crumble. The calm, before the storm above the Pacific Ocean, a cruiser vanished mid-flight. Engineers shouted as systems flickered, lights blinking, instruments failing. The crew tried to escape, but the jump drive failed. The ship dissolved into nothingness. No explosion, no debris. Simply gone. The other ships waited, frozen. None could act. They had not been hit. They had not been destroyed in any conventional way. The humans did not fight, and yet the fleet suffered devastating losses. Corval gritted his teeth, trying to keep control. We will not stop. Prepare another strike. I will not let a single human world mock the Dominion. But even he felt the terror creeping into his mind. Every ship lost, every crew vanished, every system failure. It was becoming impossible to deny the truth. The humans did not need weapons. They did not need armies. They did not even need to speak. They only needed to exist. The Zaltharon fleet trembled in orbit above Earth. What had begun as arrogance, as confidence in their unstoppable power, had now turned into confusion, panic, and fear. Ships blinked out of existence without warning. Entire squadrons disappeared mid-flight. Dreadnoughts that had crushed worlds for centuries were now paralyzed, their weapons useless, their engines frozen. Admiral Corval stared at the bridge screens, sweat streaking his metallic faceplate. "Report," he demanded, though he already knew what the reports would say. An ensign's voice trembled. "Sir, the destroyer in Sector 6, gone. And Sector 8 is gone too. Nothing remains. Not debris, not a signal, not even a trace." Corval slammed his fist onto the table, shaking the entire bridge. "Impossible. We are the Dominion. We do not vanish. We conquer. We do not fail." But even as he shouted, a cold, sinking feeling spread through him. The fleet was dying, not through fire or missiles, but through something they could not see, touch, or understand. Panic spreads. Below decks, chaos erupted. Engineers ran from console to console, frantically checking systems. Weapons officers screamed in frustration as their cannons refused to fire. Pilots argued over comms, refusing to leave docking bays or engage in maneuvers. Ensign Tovar gripped the railing of his cruiser's observation deck. His eyes scanned the blue planet below. It was peaceful, calm, indifferent. The humans had done nothing. No shields, no weapons, no armies, just silence. And yet, the fleet was disappearing around him, one ship at a time. "It's like they're tracing us," muttered a young pilot. "No battle, no attack, just gone." Tovar nodded. He had felt the same thought earlier. It was not fear in the humans, it was certainty, and that certainty was absolute. Corval's last orders. Corval refused to surrender his pride. "We are the Dominion, fire everything, launch all drones, bring the planet to its knees." But even as he shouted, his voice faltered. Every order was met with system failures. Drone bays refused to open. Cannons froze mid-charge. Missiles failed to ignite. Ships that moved toward firing positions simply vanished. Vaynar, standing beside Korval, spoke quietly. "Sir, we cannot win. Not with what we know. Not with what we have. This is not technology we recognize. This is something beyond us." Korval turned, fury and fear battling in his eyes. "Do not speak of defeat. We have conquered every world. We cannot fail." But he felt it anyway. The creeping icy dread that had already claimed hundreds of ships. The fleet disappears, one by one. Ships vanished. Entire wings blinked out of existence. Comms went silent. Radar screens showed empty space where the proud warships had been moments ago. It was not an explosion. It was not destruction. It was as if the ships had never existed. The soldiers watched in terror. They had fought countless battles across the galaxy. They had seen planets burn, civilizations crumble, fleets destroyed. But never had they felt powerless against nothing. Tovar whispered to his friend, "They aren't fighting us. They're removing us." His friend swallowed hard. "No, that's impossible. That's magic." Tovar shook his head. "Not magic. Intelligence, knowledge, something they mastered while we were busy building bigger guns. Humanities. Calm on Earth, humans continued to watch. Cities bustled, satellites orbited, scientists monitored the alien fleet. And yet, no human fired a weapon. No missile streaked into orbit. No cannon opened fire. They had prepared for this moment for centuries. But their preparation did not look like war. It looked like patience, strategy, and understanding of forces the Dominion could not comprehend. To the humans, the Zaltharon fleet was like an insect, threatening a tidal wave. They could crush it without lifting a finger. They did not need firepower. They had something far more powerful. The Admiral's realization, Vaynar's voice trembled. "Korval, this is not a normal defense. They are not fighting in our terms. Every attempt we make fails. Every system collapses. Every ship disappears. We cannot continue." Korval's jaw tightened. "Then we adapt. We find another way. The humans, they cannot hold against us forever." Vaynar shook his head slowly. "Perhaps that is the problem, sir. They don't need to hold against us. We cannot fight them because we cannot touch them. They are not defending. They are beyond our reach." Korval did not answer. He could feel the truth gnawing at him. Pride, arrogance, centuries of victories. It meant nothing here. Earth was not just another world. It was a puzzle, a force, something the Dominion had never seen. The soldiers' fear. The lower ranks began to panic. Pilots refused to leave bays. Engineers abandoned their stations. Officers shouted futile orders into dead comms. The fleet, once a storm that crushed worlds, was now a frightened collection of people watching their comrades vanish without explanation. "It's like the planet is alive," whispered a navigator. "It doesn't even fight, it just takes us." Tovar nodded silently. He had felt the same thing for days. This was not war. This was an intelligence test. And the humans were passing while the Dominion failed. The vanishing intensifies entire. Wings disappeared simultaneously. The dreadnoughts which had crushed the most advanced civilizations were gone. Carriers blinked out mid-flight. Communications dead. Radar empty. Korval felt a shiver of fear he had never known. He had faced countless enemies, all predictable, all conquerable. But this was beyond prediction, beyond strategy. "Prepare to jump," he shouted. "Retreat. Save what remains." But the fleet could not jump. Navigation systems failed. Jump drives refused to activate. Engines were locked. The humans did not need to fight. They merely existed, and the Dominion could not leave. A new understanding, Vaynar spoke quietly, almost to himself. "They do not need weapons. They do not need armies. They do not even need to speak. They simply exist and we disappear. Tovar listened. It was true. No other race in the galaxy had ever caused the Dominion fleet to vanish without a fight. Not bombs, not shields, not lasers. Humans had done this without aggression, without war, without even showing force. It was a lesson the fleet would never forget. The final ships, by the end of the cycle, only a few cruisers remained in orbit. Pilots sat frozen in their cockpits, staring at the calm blue planet below. Engineers dared not move. Officers refused to speak. Korval sat at his command chair, exhausted, broken, watching the last of his pride and power vanish before him. He had conquered 164 worlds. He had never been defeated. And now he was powerless against silence. The humans did nothing. They had not fired a shot, launched a missile, or even transmitted a warning. And yet, the Dominion fleet was gone, reduced, to a handful of trembling survivors. It was not fear that humans inspired, it was respect. Respect for a species so advanced, so confident and so patient that no attack could touch them. Korval realized, too late, that the humans were not hiding. They had always been ready. They had waited. And now, the galaxy would never see the Dominion the same way again. Humanity's triumph Earth continued its quiet existence, unaware of how many ships had vanished, unaware of the fear that gripped the invaders. The humans had defended their planet without violence, without aggression, without even showing power. Their patience, intelligence, and mastery of things the Dominion could not comprehend had protected them. The silence from Earth was not weakness. It was strength. It was a warning. It was proof that humanity did not need war to protect itself. And the Zaltharan fleet learned at last a lesson they would never forget. Some worlds do not need weapons. Some species do not need armies. Some victories are impossible because the opponent exists beyond the rules you know. The remnants of the Zaltharan fleet drifted in the void above Earth, shaken and broken. Ships that had once struck terror into the hearts of civilizations across the galaxy were now nearly lifeless, drifting aimlessly, their crews trembling in disbelief. In a matter of days, the fleet that had boasted of 164 victories had been reduced to whispers of itself. Admiral Korval, once proud and unyielding, sat on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the calm blue planet below. He could not comprehend what had happened. Their weapons, their tactics, their experience, none of it had mattered. Ships had vanished, entire squadrons erased, yet the humans had not fired a single shot. They had not launched a missile. They had done nothing. And yet everything. Vaynar, standing quietly beside Korval, spoke with a voice barely above a whisper. "Sir, we underestimated them. This is not war. This is something beyond war." Korval's jaw tightened, his pride clashing with the harsh reality. "We are the Dominion. We cannot fail. No world, no species can defy us." And yet, deep inside, he knew the truth. This was no ordinary opponent. The humans had done what no other civilization had managed. They had made the mighty Zaltharan fleet powerless without lifting a weapon. The retreat Korval gave the order to retreat, though it was a hollow command. Navigation systems still failed. Jump drives refused to engage. The few remaining ships drifted in orbit, powerless and afraid. Engineers worked frantically trying to repair systems, but every calculation, every attempt, was blocked by forces they could not understand. Tovar watched from the observation deck of his cruiser. His eyes scanned the blue planet below, peaceful and calm, untouched by the chaos above. "They don't need weapons," he whispered to his friend. "They don't even need to fight. They only need to exist." His friend swallowed hard. "But how? How can a planet, a species, undo this?" Tovar shook his head. "We don't know. And I think that's the point. They are beyond us." The remaining officers and crew began to murmur among themselves. Fear had turned into awe. Stories circulated of entire wings disappearing mid-flight, of dreadnoughts vanishing without a trace, of systems failing across the fleet. The humans had not fought. They had simply been themselves. And that had been enough. Humanity's silence on Earth, life continued mostly as usual. Scientists monitored the remnants of the alien fleet, recording the strange occurrences. But no, humans celebrated. No one shouted victory. There were no parades, no declarations, no messages sent across the galaxy. Humanity had defended its planet without arrogance, without violence, without even revealing its full strength. In quiet laboratories, humanity's true power had been observed. Years of research, centuries of study, mastery of physics, space, and energy, tools the galaxy could not yet understand, had protected the planet. Humans did not need weapons, because they had learned to shape reality itself in ways the invaders could not detect or resist. Corval could not see this, of course. To him it was terrifying. To him the humans were like gods in flesh and bone, wielding power beyond imagination, capable of erasing fleets without a single shot. The whispered warning weeks later, news of the failed invasion spread across the galaxy. The Dominion fleet had been defeated, not through battle, not through diplomacy, not through trickery. Entire fleets had disappeared, leaving no wreckage. The story traveled quietly, whispered in shadowed halls of star systems, carried by traders, scouts, and refugees. The 165th Invasion Fleet went to Earth, one voice said in the crowded corridors of a distant station, and not even wreckage was found. Whispers turned into fear. Rumors turned into legends. Scientists, diplomats, and soldiers spoke in hushed tones of the humans, a species no one truly understood. Some laughed nervously, refusing to believe it, while others turned pale, realizing the truth. Humanity had not fought, yet they had won. Across the galaxy, the word spread. Earth is not to be challenged. Humans do not fight like other species. To confront them is dangerous. The Dominion's fall Admiral Corval returned to his homeworld in disgrace. The High Council demanded explanations, but he had none. How could he explain what had happened? Every ship lost, every weapon useless, every tactic meaningless. Humanity had not played by the rules, and the Dominion had no idea how to respond. Some counselors suggested revenge. Some suggested cautious observation, but none dared approach Earth directly. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not soon forget. The humans were not like other species. They were patient, clever, and unimaginably powerful. They did not seek war, yet they could end it without a fight. Corval knew deep inside that he had seen the rise of something extraordinary. The humans were not conquerors, yet they commanded respect and fear through their very existence. Humanity's true nature. Humans remained humble. They did not spread propaganda. They did not flaunt their power. They continued to explore, study, and live their lives quietly, as if nothing had happened. Yet their actions spoke louder than words. The galaxy began to notice patterns. Humans had survived countless galactic crises, both natural and alien. They had learned to adapt, to outthink, to master forces that other species struggled to understand. They did not conquer because they did not need to. They did not fight because they did not have to. And now, the galaxy had learned a final lesson. Humans were not merely another species. They were something more, something beyond predictability, beyond conventional power. A message for the stars in. The weeks that followed, scattered Dominion survivors sent cautious reports across space. "Do not approach Earth," one commander wrote in secret. "They do not fight. They do not respond. And yet, they are not to be challenged. Our ships vanished. Our weapons failed. Do not repeat our mistake." These reports spread quietly. Star systems that had once mocked Earth now whispered its name with caution. Humans did not declare war, did not demand tribute, and did not send fleets to conquer. But the story alone, the story of a fleet disappearing without a trace, was enough to warn every civilization. The humans are not to be tested. They do not fight wars the way we do, and they are not to be underestimated. Reflections of Tovar and Sign. Tovar, now promoted to commander, looked at the galaxy through human eyes. He remembered the arrogance of the Dominion, the confidence of soldiers who had never faced defeat, and the growing fear that had overtaken them. They thought they were invincible, he said to a colleague, but they forgot one thing. We do not fight like them. We do not need to, and they never learned the rules we play by. His colleague nodded. They will remember. The galaxy will remember. Humanity has spoken, without words, has acted without violence. And it is enough. Tovar smiled faintly. Not enough for us, but enough for them. A quiet legacy. The galaxy would continue to spin, empires would rise and fall, and wars would rage on distant worlds, but Earth remained untouched. The humans had no armies in orbit, no fleets patrolling the stars. They simply existed, quietly mastering the forces around them, patiently observing and protecting their own. And that was enough. No one could challenge them. No one could predict them. No one could defeat them. At least not without understanding the true depth of what humanity had achieved. The humans did not seek revenge, conquest, or recognition. They simply lived quietly, watching the galaxy. And the galaxy, in turn, whispered warnings to all who might consider testing Earth. Do not approach. Do not challenge. Humanity does not fight as others fight, and some victories are impossible. The final lesson. The Dominion fleet was gone. Ships vanished. Pride shattered. The story of the humans spread like fire through the stars. Fear and awe replaced arrogance and mockery, and the galaxy learned a truth it could not ignore. Some species do not need war to be powerful. Some worlds do not need armies to defend themselves. And some beings, like humans, are not measured by the weapons they wield, but by the very presence of their minds, their patience, and their understanding. The humans did not declare victory. They did not celebrate. They simply existed, quietly, reminding the galaxy that some things, some species, cannot be conquered, cannot be broken, and cannot be defeated.